Hi, in this video we are going to go over Qwen Image Layered. We're going to do a demo, show what it's capable of, and then I will show you step by step how to run it in WAN2GP. With Qwen Image Layered, you take an input image and then you decompose it into multiple layers. So if your image has text on it, like here, the sour candy, we see that in its own layer. We see the woman separated and we see the background separated. And then you can go into an editing app. You can use other AI models to mess with those layers. A big use case I can think of for this model is making thumbnails. Now, you would think from looking at my thumbnails that they were made in about 5 seconds, but I actually spend quite a bit of time trying to get the elements like the text correct. And with this model, if I like the concept of the thumbnail, I can then separate the layers and then just modify the pieces. For example, this is a thumbnail decomposed into parts. With the image, I provided the model on top and then the output parts on the bottom. This is another example I gave the model, and this is one of the outputs. We get both women and the background, and then we get the text on top as a separate layer and the text on the bottom as its own layer. You don't have much control on what it determines the layers are. So one cool thing is you can run things recursively. So for instance, if I wanted to take that image of the two women at the background and further break that apart, I ran it and then I got one woman with the background and then one woman by herself and then the disco ball by itself. So you can run it multiple times with multiple images to pull out the pieces that you want. Here's an interesting example where I gave it that image on the left and it broke it into the poster and then the wall without the poster, which is interesting because then you can just replace the poster with something else you'd want. And then here's what it did with that image on the left, broke it into a couple constituent layers. Where I found it doesn't do a good job is with cohesive images that don't have text or other items that seem like they were created by layers, like something that might have been created in a Photoshop type program. Then the model just kind of pulls out something like here, the pillar. Where it does a really impressive job is with something I'm not going to abdicate, but with watermarks, it does a really clean job and you don't have to do any masking. You can see here, it completely removed the watermark throughout the image and the image is very clean without it. Here's an example with a smaller watermark. You can see it also completely removed it. So let's run through how to actually use it. I'm going to be running on an A40 in RunPod. If you don't know how to spin it up on RunPod, I have a separate video that gets you going really quickly. Otherwise, you can run WAN2GP on your own machine or wherever you prefer. So we are in WAN2GP. We are going to go to Qwen and then the image layered 20 billion option. Drag in the image you want to separate into layers. And for the prompt, I just left decompose the image into layers. The Qwen team warns that the prompt is not to describe how you want the image broken into layers. It's really to describe the image itself, especially if there's something covering something else in the image. You want to make sure that the model knows what is behind something else. But if you're a control freak, you might not like this model because you can't specifically get the layers you want when you want them. The solution to that really is to just try again, and then you could also recursively keep breaking things apart if you want it into further layers. Our input image here is 16 by 9, so I'm going to select 16 by 9. And I kept 4 layers. One of the layers it returns to you is often just the image itself, so you really actually only get 3 layers when you select 4, but in any case, 4 seem to work nicely most of the time. And I found the other defaults worked well, so just have to click Generate. This is what the resource utilization looked like while it was running. And it completed the 30 diffusion steps in about 8 minutes, and we see the 4 decomposed layers there, one being the actual full image, and then we see how the text was separated and the woman that I showed earlier. And then after this, I went ahead and decomposed that image with the 2 women further. Pretty straightforward once you get a hang of what it is good at separating and what it's not, and dealing with the fact that you don't have total control. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.